Good evening, everybody. My name is Bryson, and I'm here with my co-host,
Jake Vogel.
and we will be talking in this series about the fandom of Game of Thrones and the controversy of how Game of Thrones went about their last two seasons and how they went off the book and how fans reacted to that. Jake, do you mind telling the viewers what is your perspective and thoughts just on a general of Game of Thrones?
That's personally one of my favorite shows I've ever watched. I really enjoyed it. I feel like from all the characters, the storytelling, the world building, all that's pretty interesting. And the way they progressed the story throughout the show was looking like it was going to be really good. And I watched it way after it came out, so I knew a little bit about the ending, and my dad watched it, and he read the books, and he was pretty disappointed with the ending, so I kind of had those expectations going into those later seasons of it not being as good, but I honestly didn't think it was that terrible of an ending.
Yeah.
But I definitely thought it could have been
a little better. Yeah, I agree.
A little better, yeah.
And I would talk about my experience of Game of Thrones too, because I had started watching Game of Thrones, I want to say around 2022, and I had saw it because my uncle was watching it, and I started to binge watch it the entire summer. So I went through all 7 seasons within 3 months of the summer. And I definitely, for those that haven't seen it, we're not going to spoil anything, but it definitely leaves you kind of with your mouth dropped to the ground. And I think that the well-written books, and Jake has read the books himself, so he can also talk about that later on in the series, on how the books and the TV show kind of drift a little bit, but also come together in the same way. And we think that this series is going to be really well because it's such a hot topic show, not only just here in the United States, but all over the world. And they have so many different spin-off shows like House of Dragon, which me and Jacob also watch as well. And they also have the new series coming out called The Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Jake, who was your favorite character, or who was the most impactful character to you during the whole Game of Thrones series?
I feel like it's pretty close between two, either Tyrion Lannister or Jon Snow. Throughout the whole show, probably those two are up there. I feel like it depends on what part of the show I'm at, but I think pretty consistently it's one of those two guys. They're both pretty well written and got a lot going, I think. What about you?
I agree. I would say that probably Jon Snow is the most impactful character for me. I like the way that his storyline and his upbringing kind of it went. You weren't expecting the outcome to happen.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And I think that it was just, he had such an important role from the beginning to all the way to the end of the series. And Jake, I'm only going to ask you a couple more questions. I want to know who, and this is, you don't get this question often, but who do you think was your least favorite character?
I would say the character that I didn't like the most would probably be what's the prince's name? Joffrey.
Prince Joffrey. Yeah.
Either him or Ramsay.
Yeah.
The guy that tortured.
Yeah, the one that tortured
Theon.
Theon Greyjoy.
Either one of those two guys. They were well written, but they were written for you to hate them.
Right.
I feel like.
No, yeah, and I agree too. And I think that I would probably say my like least favorite character have to have been I gotta think about that now. I would probably say the Queen. You know,
Really?
yeah. She she at first had me fully indulged into their like kind of lifestyle, but then I started to realize that like it's all power, you know,
Yeah.
and you know we talk about this also later on once we kind of get more into depth into the series on how each season shifted from positive to negatives, but then you know the characters that we like, and yeah, I just definitely think that it was probably the Queen that I didn't like the most. And Jake, I have one more question for you before we wrap up this first pilot episode, and we want to know like, do you think that with the spinoffs that they can, you know, equivalent to how good Game of Thrones was throughout, you know, throughout the whole world, pretty much?
Yeah, I mean, I think I haven't watched the A Night of the Seven Kingdoms yet, so I cannot say my perspective on that. But I watched both seasons of House of the Dragon,
Yeah.
and read the book that shows off of, and I feel like they have a lot of source material there. Mm-hmm. Even just the Game of Thrones books, the author George R.R. Martin, he did a pretty good job at with like the history and the world building and everything. So there's a lot more to the story than just the Game of Thrones story. So they could very well keep going if they have like if they follow the source material and like just do what
the fans want,
pretty much right in front of them.
Yeah,
I feel like they can do a pretty good job with it, but it all just depends about how the TV companies actually care about it. Like if they're not big fans and they're just doing it for money and whatnot, then so the fans probably aren't going to be happy. But that's what I think. I think it could be a pretty cool universe to see fold out.
Yeah, I agree, and I think with the way that the Game of Thrones last two seasons ended, that the controversy over that with the fans and what the fans actually wanted to see and what the fans wanted to see because of the books, I think that with these prequels that they're coming out with, that they definitely will take that into consideration. And I just want to thank you, Jake, for coming on. And, we definitely will be seeing you again on this series of Game of Thrones fandoms. And thank you so much for your time, Jake.
Thank you, Bryson.